Hi there and welcome back. You can tell it from the background, I'm not standing in front of the tiny house, I'm sitting in the living room with Laszlo, and there is a special reason for this, because last week I promised you as soon as we will reach the 100,000 subscribers, we will do a very special Q&A just for you to answer your burning questions. So, let's get started. So here we go with a special Q&A, and last week I asked you to write your most burning questions underneath last week's episode, and in the end I think it was something like 1600 comments underneath the video, and as I said we will try to answer almost everything, and there are three different questions that most of you wanted to know. So the most popular questions last week, most frequently asked questions are: what are your plans for the tiny house once it's finished? What do you teach? Which subjects? And how and where did Laszlo and you meet? Of course, we will try to answer those questions, but we will start with this one.
How did you come to know about the little houses in the first place, and what made you buy the first one and renovate it?
That's a quite funny story, because in the beginning it was Laszlo's idea, because he once said that he would like to have a little garden somewhere in the countryside, because we both are from the countryside. And we were both sick and tired of living in Berlin, and so it was initially his idea, and we found this little property here on the German eBay Kleinanzeigen, which is something like in America Craigslist, and somebody wanted to get rid of this property, and we bought it, and the house needed some renovation. And that's how it all started, with the renovating.
Do you need permits, and does an inspector come to approve your completed work?
Mm-hmm. Many of you ask questions about codes and inspections when renovating a house like this. As far as I understand, it's quite tough in the US, so there is inspection nearly in every phase of the building process. Here in Germany it's a little bit different. So of course you have codes and you have inspections, but only when you do a new build. So when you build a house from scratch, totally new, there are inspections, but in this case it's just a renovation, and when you are renovating a house there are no inspections like these. So of course there are some trades where it is quite clever to ask a professional. For example, electrics. So in this house, for example, I did the rough wiring, but the breaker box did a professional electrician. And I think it's important as well when it comes to insurances. So I think insurances, they want to see that a professional did it. But it is quite relaxed compared to the US system here in Germany.
Mm. Is there a back door? If not, any plans to add one?
A back door. Well, that's another thing which is quite different to the United States. I know that in the United States every house needs to or has to have a back door. Here in Germany it's different again. You don't have to, unless it's a public building, then you have to. But I think it's mainly because our windows here work differently, because our windows are, well, more or less little doors, or they work like doors because they are tilt and turn. So if you have to escape from the house, you can escape through the window quite easy, and therefore you don't have to have a back door. And there is no plan from our side to add another back door, because directly behind the house the next property begins. So you would step directly from the house into our neighbor's yard.
Alan wants to know, would you like to know why didn't you lay out the green squares in the entire parking area instead of just the thinner strips?
Alan, honestly, this was just because I was lazy. Of course, it would have been much more professional to lay out those green squares, plastic things everywhere on the entire driveway. But I just checked where the car would park and where its wheels would go, and this is where I put those green squares. But it would have been much more professional to put those green squares all over the driveway. Yeah, that's true.
Where is your rear property line, technically?
The rear property line is, well, it's quite funny. The tiny house and the orange one behind it, I think I told it already in one of our previous episodes. Once they belonged to one family, both houses, and this was just one property. And later on they divided it, and that's why the property ends directly behind the house. So there is something like a space like this, so that you just can barely walk. But this is where the property ends. But I mean, it's quite relaxed here in the community. So the neighbor behind us and we don't even have a fence or anything in between the properties. So
She also doesn't want to have one.
she doesn't want to have a fence. So it's quite relaxed. But this is technically where the property ends.
Are you putting insulation in the house?
Oh yes. Many of you are quite confused when they see me screwing the board directly to the wall on the inside. There is no need to put insulation between the walls and the boards, because we put the insulation on the outside of the house. So on the outside there is something like this thickness of insulation, and the idea behind it is not to lose square footage on the inside, because it is already quite small. And therefore we just add it on the outside. That's the reason.
What will you do next?
What will you do next? That's a funny question. Next, like next week, this is quite clear. So next week I will go on working on Udo's new stairs. I am currently already working on it. So that's a teaser for next week, the stairs. But when you mean next, like after this project, after the house is finished, has been finished, I don't know. It is still a dream that I have. I would like to build a houseboat. I don't know if this is going to be the next project. Just leave me a comment. What would you like to see as a next big project? Up to you.
Does the metal portion of the roof needs to be replaced?
The metal roof. In the very beginning, when I started with the tiny house and when things were still a little bit small and money was much smaller, the idea was just to keep it as it is, because the roof is technically sturdy and it's not leaking and stuff. But as we discovered, the insulation is more or less completely destroyed by the raccoons. And on top of this, we discovered that it would be much easier to put the wiring between the different rooms to the breaker box via the roof instead of going through the walls. And the idea is to re-roof the roof. Do you say re-roof or just to exchange the roof? And but this I think will happen in summer or maybe late summer, something like this. Yeah.
Are the windows going to have screens?
Yes, definitely. As far as I understand, in the US it is quite standard that every window has screens to keep the bugs out. Here in Germany it's not like this. So here in Germany you buy windows without screens, but you can add screens. And living here directly next to the lake, you definitely have to have screens, because otherwise the mosquitoes would kill you during the night.
What are you going to do with the left side of the property? That fence and the neighbors' outbuildings are looking sad and neglected.
Oh yes, on the left side of the property it really looks disastrous. The plan is to put a big and a very high fence against it, so that we don't have to see this mess anymore. But this is another project, I think, for mid or late summer. But there definitely has to happen something, because it looks terrible.
Oh, next year.
Or maybe even next year. So
Why did you paint it blue? I guess the question is for the house.
well, actually it's not blue, it's anthracite, and which is a mixture between black and blue. And first of all, it wasn't my decision. So I asked my Patreons. By the way, you can check out my Patreon page. I asked my Patreons, and it was up to them to decide. And they had 3 different options. They could choose between yellow with white trim, natural wood with white trim, and this anthracite with white trim. And I think the vast majority was they opted for anthracite. And I mean, I'm completely fine with it. I like this color, especially because I think it looks very good together with green. Anthracite with a fresh green now in spring. I think it looks pretty good, quite pretty good. Yeah.
Will you keep the porch pavers and steps the same, or do you plan on replacing them with something else?
We had a discussion about it. Yes, the color is not our choice. This pinkish red color of the pavers. But I think it would be too much work and too much trouble to change it, because they have been set in concrete, and I think it would be a lot of work to exchange them. So I think we will keep it like this. I don't know if it's possible to paint it. No. Some floor paint. I think we will keep it as it is.
Which power tools would you choose as the most useful if you could only have a few?
The most useful power tools. That's a good question, because it's depending exactly on what you plan to do with your power tools. So my most important power tools are the miter saw and my electric drill, and maybe the nail gun. No, that's the most fun to use. But miter saw and electric drill are the 2 different tools I use most. But this is because I like doing woodworking. So it's completely depending. When you're doing electric works, it's maybe something different. I don't know.
Are you going to do the bathroom renovation by yourself? Are you skilled in plumbing? Are there codes or rules that needs to be followed when it comes to plumbing, electrical and fire insulation?
The bathroom is a big topic between Laszlo and me. Because of course it would make more sense to start with the bathroom instead of renovating other rooms, because to renovate the bathroom is
It's behind the guest room.
yes, and this makes most of the dirt. So, and it's quite clever to start with the bathroom and then continue with other rooms. But to be honest, I hate working with tiles and bricks and mortar and everything like this. That's not my piece of cake, to be honest. So I always try to avoid it. I even try to avoid the room, and yes, but I have to start with the bathroom. That's true.
Maybe you can ask for help.
Yeah, I should ask somebody for help, definitely. And what was the question with plumbing?
Are you skilled in plumbing?
I did the plumbing system here in this house, but this was just a push fit system, very comparable to your PEX system that you have in the US. And this was quite easy, and knock on wood, it still works. So maybe I will do it.
And what about codes and rules?
Codes and rules
By plumbing?
in terms of
electrical,
plumbing.
Yeah, and electrical. And fire
Well,
installation.
I think we had it already. Yes, there are codes and rules, but there are just inspections when you do a new build, not when you do a renovation.
When do you plan on installing the other exterior walls?
Honestly, there are no plans in my head, so there is not a timetable or something like this. I think I should concentrate on working on the inside now, and maybe I will continue working on the other two walls in summer or late summer. I know that I already said that I do other things in summer and late summer, but well, I think I should continue working on the inside now.
What type of heating does the house have? Is it just a fireplace?
Yes, right now it's just a fireplace. Here in this house we have a mixture, we have a fireplace and electric heating, but
We never use electric heating.
we never use the electric heating. Most of the time it's just the fireplace, and because the houses are that small, it's so easy to heat it with a fireplace. So after 20 minutes you have a very comfortable temperature here in the house. Sometimes we even sit here in t-shirts because it's already too warm. So we don't need electric heating.
The house is really coming together.
Yeah.
Do you want to just get it done, or are you still enjoying the easy time frame?
Just as I said, there is no timetable in my head, so there is not a fixed date when this house has to be finished, because we have to move in or we have to sell it or whatever. So right now I still enjoy working on this house, and there is no schedule for me.
For Mr. Udo, what about a ramp instead of stairs? It would be easier on his knees now and possibly in the future.
For sure, I agree. I think a ramp would have been much more comfortable. But I asked him, "Do you want new stairs, or should I build a ramp?" And he just said no, he wants stairs, and this is his wish. So and I would never build a ramp when he wants stairs.
He needs some challenge.
Yeah, and building a ramp would have been much easier for me, of course, instead of building chairs. But he insisted on stairs, and that's what he needs, and it's not my decision.
Yeah. We are going to change the topic.
Yes, please.
About life in the community.
Oh yes.
Could you tell us more about your community? How many people live there? Are the community members who are the children, grandchildren of the original owners? Are there mainly adults, or are there families with children?
So the community, yes, the community. This used to be a private holiday resort, more or less. So it's out of 9 properties here, and the age range is from the mid-60s to, I think, 2 years is the youngest kid. So we have kids here between 2 and 10, I think, and the oldest ones is a couple in their 60s. So it is quite a funny mixture here. Yeah.
Are there fish in the lake?
Yes, as in most of the lakes here in the Brandenburg area, of course, there are fish in the lake, and you can go fishing if you want to. But fishing actually is not that popular here in Germany as it is, for example, in the United States. Here some people do, but I never did, to be honest. So I prefer buying them frozen.
A quite important topic.
Oh yes.
Dishwasher.
Oh, the dishwasher.
Is your dishwasher kept in the shed in the back all the year round? Do you operate it out back, or is it wheeled inside at the time all the time? How about in the winter? That part was so very confusing to me as an American. I run my dishwasher every day.
After the dishwasher episode 3 or 4 weeks ago, there have been so many comments, and most of them asking, why is the dishwasher in the shed? Well, the answer is quite simple, because the kitchen is too small. In the beginning, when I did the kitchen, there was no idea for a dishwasher, so we never planned to have a dishwasher. And then all of a sudden Laszlo had the opportunity to get a dishwasher for free, and it's a used one, it's not a new one. And then we had to find some space for the dishwasher, and the only space for the dishwasher was the shed. And this was last autumn, right? Yeah, last autumn. And we don't use it that often, so we just use it more or less as an overflow. But so we found a place in the shed, and we just, well, it was quite naive, but we thought it would survive the winter in the shed. Apparently it didn't, and now we have to find a solution for this, so maybe a new installation for the shed or whatever. And yes, the dishwasher in the shed is quite funny. So we run the dishwasher in the shed, and we always carry our dishes through the kitchen window to the dishwasher.
Somebody wants to know, is it true that the neighbors are increasingly asking you for a job?
Yes. But most of the time neighbors ask for tools, to be honest, because they can see on YouTube all my tools, and then they come and say, please, can I have your miter saw, can I have your whatsoever. But I'm absolutely fine with it, so that's nice.
Do you ever go swimming or boating on the lake in front of this house?
I go swimming. You don't like swimming in the lake. You prefer to go boating, right?
Yeah.
Most of our neighbors go swimming. Right now, stand-up paddling is very posh, so everybody is just standing on the lake at the moment. Well, actually not at the moment, but no. And yes, you can, and the water quality is excellent, and it's really nice in summer.
Do they allow motorboats on the lake? Do people swim in it, and do you catch fish in the lake to eat sometimes?
Motorboats are allowed, no problem. I don't know if there are any size regulations to the motorboats. No, right?
I don't know.
So there are motorboats allowed, and just as I said, you can go swimming and you can go fishing, but it's not that popular to go fishing here in Germany.
Does everyone in your immediate neighborhood have access to the lake, or is access reserved for you two homes only?
No. So the waterfront. Do you say waterfront with the lake? The water side whatsoever. So it's completely free for all the neighbors, of course, and that's the reason why there is still this little pathway through both properties. So we are not able to put them together. And of course, all the neighbors, they can go to the water, and but we try to keep it like this, that it's just us, the neighbors of this community. We try to avoid other people coming here, and yeah.
And now some questions to your channel.
Yeah.
What has been your most favorite part of the journey to 100,000 subscribers?
My most favorite part was this week in June, when all of a sudden the channel, well, it just went crazy. So in the beginning of the week I had 37 subscribers, most of them family and friend. all of them. Well, anyway, and a week later, I had something like 3,700 subscribers all of a sudden, and the end of June already 60,000. So beginning June it was 37. In the end of June, 60,000. And this was, of course, my favorite milestone or part of the journey or whatsoever. And in the long run, I think the most fun or the funniest thing is to see or to read the comments underneath each video. So I always try to answer most of the comments once I upload a video in the first 1 or 2 hours. But I try to read nearly all of them, and this is the thing I enjoy most, I think, yeah. So it's nice to see that people react on what you are doing. Yeah.
Somebody is wondering where most of your viewers are from.
That's quite nice, because as a YouTube creator, as you call yourself as a YouTuber, YouTube offers you very detailed data to your audience, and that's why I know that 45% I think are US American, followed by 10% UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany is just 4.5% or something like this. So most of the viewers come from the US. Yeah.
I'm curious if you are being approached for sponsorships yet. Would you do a sponsored video?
It's quite funny. I think sponsors should wait in line, but actually they don't. So no sponsorship yet. Would I do a sponsored video? I think it depends completely on the product. So I would never do any sponsorship or any sponsoring or sponsored video about something I never used, for example. Yeah, I would keep it like this. I'm open for offers.
Well, what's next? How are you going to entertain us once your little house restoration is finished?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, the house renovation is not finished and will not be finished, I think, for the next 12 months at least. You always have to keep in mind what you see each week is just, well, the outcome of one day. Sometimes it's 1.5 days, meaning it's Friday afternoon and Saturday. Sometimes it's even Friday, Saturday, and a little bit of Sunday. And that's why it takes so long. And that's why from one week to the other, there are just minor changes and a little bit of development. So, and therefore it will take at least another year until the house is nearly finished. I think even more. What was the question?
How would you entertain us?
Once the house is finished?
Yeah.
I don't know, just as I said, maybe the next project will be a houseboat or whatever, but just leave me a comment. What would you like to see?
Any chance you can put together the music on an album to download?
Oh yes, many viewers always ask for the name of this title and this title and this song, and well, actually I can't, so I don't have any rights on this song. So all the music that you can hear on my videos are from epidemicsound.com, and it's a platform especially for YouTubers or for creative people working with movies and films. And so I don't have any rights on this song. They are, I think the word is royalty free, so I am allowed to use them, but I could never put together something like a compilation or an album and to download it or whatever. No.
Where did the inspiration for the Renovation East name came from?
Well, actually, there was no real inspiration. So the idea was to start a renovation channel, and from the very beginning, the idea was to do it in English, just as a little challenge for me. But well, yeah. So the word renovation was quite clear. Renovation had to be in the name, and then the question was how to differentiate it to all the other renovation channels. And here in Germany we still have East and West, meaning the western part of Germany that used to be the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, and the eastern region of Germany that used to be the DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik. And we still have this thinking between East and West. And so my idea was, okay, it's a renovation that's happening in the eastern part of Germany, and why not call it Renovation East? So, and in the beginning my idea was to go more into detail about building or this type of house here in the eastern part. So my idea was to have a bigger focus on this eastern history. To be honest, I lost this focus a little bit. Yeah.
Can you do an all German episode?
An all German episode. Well, actually, it's a funny idea, but I don't think that you would be able to understand everything when I would do an episode just in German. But maybe I can upload each episode in English and in German so that you can choose. Yeah, maybe like this.
I could maybe ask you in German the next question.
Yes, ask the next question in
We
German.
change that topic.
Yes.
Wie sind wir denn zusammengekommen?
So, the German question was, wie sind wir denn zusammengekommen? Which actually means in English, how did we meet? Right?
Yeah.
So, now we are coming to the personal questions. It was 15 years ago, I think. Right?
Also, please.
15 years ago, and it was in Budapest, in Hungary, because I used to work for a Hungarian TV company back then, and that's where we met, because Laszlo is, obviously because the name, he is Hungarian, and that's where we met back then 15 years ago, and we are married now 4.5 years. 4.5. Yeah, something like this.
Who has the final word on how the house will be decorated? And have you already purchased what you want to put in there?
Who has the final word? That's a good question. Not even on how the house is going to be decorated. Well, I think it's like in most relationships, after a certain time, you have a certain field of competence. So, for example, everything related to the car is his business, not mine. So I don't have a word on anything car related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kitchen, for example, is completely his field of competence, not mine. I would never dare to buy anything for the kitchen or change anything in the kitchen. I would never do it. On the other side, decoration is more or less my topic. Renovation is my topic. So we have different topics, I think. Yeah. And it works fine. After 15 years, we can say, okay, we had some fights, but that's okay. It's working now.
What subjects do you teach?
That's one of the 3 most asked questions. What is your profession? What do you teach? I work as an elementary school teacher since 4 years now. And right now I teach English and arts and, well, in German it's Sachkundeunterricht. I think you should, or you could translate it to science. Yeah, science. On an elementary level. Yeah.
What grade do you teach?
Actually, right now I'm teaching only grade fourth. But in the long run, I have to be able to teach grade 1 to grade 6. So here in this area, the elementary school goes from grade 1 to grade 6.
What do your students think of their teacher being so famous?
Well, my students, they don't even know that there is this YouTube channel. So they don't know that I'm a YouTuber. And of course my colleagues, they do. But I would like to keep it like this. So I don't want my students to see me as a YouTuber. So they should just continue seeing me as a teacher, and I think that's best. So they never watch my episodes.
Did you grow up in what was then East Germany?
No. So I was born and raised in the western part of Germany, very close to the Dutch border. So, and well, after a long journey, in the end we ended up here in the eastern part. But I used to be, in German you would say a Wessi. So somebody that grew up in the western part is a Wessi. Yeah, that's what they say, sorry.
Where do you buy your knickers, your work pants? I love them. So different and colorful.
It's a German company. It's called Engelbert Strauss, and they are quite popular here amongst the workers or working people, and they are quite comfortable and fine, and I really enjoy it. Talking about sponsorship,
We will see.
we will see.
I know that English isn't a language you usually learn in Germany, so how did you learn, how did you two learn it, and do either of you speak any other language besides from German and English?
Well, actually, it's not like this. So usually here in Germany, you start learning English at school. Here in this area, it's grade 3, and you, as a second language next to German, you start grade 3, and then grade 7, I think there is another foreign language, and you can choose between Spanish and French, and in my case back then it was Latin. And grade 9 you can even add another foreign language. So most of the Germans, well, they speak English on different levels, of course, but most of them are able to speak English. So for example, my mother learned English at school, and she's already nearly 80, and she follows all my videos, and she understands nearly everything. So maybe because I speak German English and she's German, I don't know. But it is quite common for Germans to speak English, so they at least understand you. Most of the time they are already also able to answer.
How did you end up close to Berlin from southern Germany? Job, husband's location of this hometown?
Well, actually, as I said, so I'm not from the south of Germany, I'm from the western part. Maybe it was quite confusing because we visited your sister and she is living in the south of Germany. So I'm from the western part, Laszlo is from Hungary, and well, after our Budapest years, we ended up in Berlin back then. And that's when we decided to move to Berlin for job reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for job reasons. Yeah. Well, actually, it was my job. Yeah. Sorry.
Would you consider purchasing a house to fix up and flip?
No, to be honest. So, I mean, I like this renovation, but I would never do it as a job. So, I like to do it because I am able to do it and I can do it and there is no pressure. But if I had to do it for a living, I would never do it because this would be too stressful for me. No.
It's another profession.
Yeah, that's definitely another profession.
Have you ever visited the UK?
Actually, I lived in the UK for nearly a year in Birmingham. And I used to work there. So I've been to the UK several times, and I've been living there as well for a year.
What do you both do for a living?
As you already know, I am a teacher, and Laszlo is working as a MD for an ice cream company in Berlin. Yeah.
If you could travel anywhere in the USA, where would you go?
There are no special areas or cities in the US I would like to go to, but I would like to travel the entire US. So that it is still a dream in my head. I would like to start from the East Coast and travel through the entire United States to the West Coast, which of course is quite a big trip, and this would take at least 3 or 4 months. But this is still a dream that I have. But we haven't decided yet.
Mm-hmm. How did you learn about construction?
I never did.
Oh.
So everything I do, just learned on the internet or on YouTube tutorials, and most of this is just trial and error. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What do you like best or worst about renovating and building?
I like everything around woodworking. And worst is painting. I hate painting because it makes me crazy. I know that many of you say, oh, painting is so relaxing and you come down and blah blah blah, but I hate it. It's this stupidity that I don't
That's
like.
my part.
That's your part.
Yeah.
That's his part. And just as I said, everything with tiles and bricks and mortar is not my piece of cake.
Where do you get all your energy?
Where do I get my energy? I don't know.
Maybe because that's always a hobby for you.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the reason, because it is still a hobby. Yeah. So just as I said, there is no schedule I have to follow or something like this. So I like to do it, most of it, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the making. So maybe that's the reason. Yeah.
How does Laszlo keep a straight face when you crack jokes?
How do you keep a straight face when I crack jokes? Like this. I usually don't crack jokes in private life.
Never.
Never.
Yeah, I have no question for you.
Yes. The last one, the most burning question.
What are your... No?
No, the first one. So we didn't answer the first question, and this was the one most frequently asked.
Sorry.
And everybody is waiting for the answer for this question, so we didn't discuss it.
What are your plans for the tiny house once it's finished?
What are the plans for the tiny house once it's finished? So I think this question was nearly 20, 30 times in all the comments, yeah. Many of you wanted to know, will we sell it, or will we rent it out, or will we rent it out as Airbnb? So first of all, we can't rent it out. So the property is a lease property. It's not bought from the city, the property itself. And the contract says that we are not allowed to rent it out. And from the very beginning, the idea was to keep it as, well, this sounds very decadent, but as a second house. So this will be a guest's bedroom. this little room, for example, will work as a guest bedroom, but as well as a room for the electric piano that we still have, as a creative room, as a multifunctional room.
Everything in the smallest room of the house.
The smallest room will be the multifunctional room, yeah. The bigger room, the living room / kitchen, I think I will try to keep it as a workshop as long as possible, but I will try to prepare everything for the kitchen, and so that one day, if we don't want to keep this house anymore, we could sell it so that somebody can use it just as bedroom, bathroom, and living room / kitchen.
Would you finish the house before selling?
Yes, of course, sure. But right now the plan is to keep it and to use it for guests, for creative work, for just as a hideaway, a man cave, or whatever you call it. Yeah. So these are the plans, yeah.
Okay.
And this was already the end, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The very last question.
The very last question.
Yeah.
So again and again, thanks to all of you for subscribing. Thank you for being part of this exciting journey. And next week you will hopefully see us again when we go on renovating or building the stairs at Udo's house. See you then. Bye. Muss auch gucken. Hi there and welcome
Ich habe
back.
mich gerade gestreckt. And now some question to
Gut, das passte. Na, gucke mal.